This podcast was made in partnership with the Flues app. When you sign up with Flues using my referral code Geobreeze Travel, you'll receive 3 vouchers to earn up to 35% cash back on merchants such as Grubhub, CVS, and more. You'll also earn a high cashback voucher for each friend you refer to the app. And if you would be interested in hosting a paid collaboration with Flues, send me an email at julia@geobreezetravel.com letting me know that you're interested, and I will introduce you to the marketing team. Check out the show notes to download the Flues app. Welcome to the Geobreeze Travel Podcast, a show for anyone wanting to level up their travel hacking lifestyle. I'm your host, Julia Menez. I'm a travel hacker, coach, speaker, Filipino-American ENTJ who loves solid travel gear and using shortcuts on spreadsheets. On this show, I'm on a mission to bring you travel hackers from all walks of life to help you level up your travel hacking game. We dive into credit cards, miles, points, strategy, mindset, and the secrets behind how to travel the world for next to no cost. So let's get hacking.
I walked into the Burj Al Arab, which is the only 7-star hotel in Dubai, to just look at the brunch menu because Sumaya was trying to convince me that it's $125 a person, 2 people, $250. Let's just do it. It's once in a lifetime. Do it, and that's it. So when they took us up there and gave us a tour of the caviar, the Wagyu, and all of that stuff, I was convinced. Let's pay $250 for just 2 people. This was on our 10-year anniversary. And then I was like, okay, so how much is it? Just to confirm the price. And it was like $300 a person, $600 for a dinner. I was like, oh yeah, let me think about it. I'll come back. They're still waiting. 5 years later, they're still waiting for Abdul, who went for a walk, and he's going to come right back up,
Hello, Points people. Abdul and Sumaya Bezrati run the Game of Points blog, which is all about travel, collecting points, and maximizing redemptions. They are a family of 4 and have been to more than 30 countries. They love the opulence and luxury, but not the high price tags, so they travel hack their way through 5-star resorts and premium sky cabins. In today's episode, we discuss an incredible 10-year anniversary trip that Abdul and Sumaya took around the world in business class with stops in Singapore, Dubai, and Abu Dhabi. A trip that would have cost more than $40,000 if paid for in cash, which apparently a lot of people on their flights did just that. We also discuss some cultural considerations about what it's like to be a Muslim person in the points and miles world, or just in the world in general. And it's honestly pretty eye-opening. The hobby of reward travel should be available for anyone who wants to take part, and I know it can seem pretty daunting to get started for a variety of reasons. If you'd like some personalized coaching to get started with your points journey or to level up your game, check out the link in the show notes to sign up for a coaching spot. And now, on with the show. Hey, Abdul. Hey, Sumaya. Welcome to the Geobreeze Travel Podcast.
Thank you. Thank you for having us.
Of course. Thank you for being here today. I am so excited to get to speak with you guys today. So before we jump into all of your Game of Points knowledge, which I love that handle, by the way, before we jump into all the stuff you know, all of the cool trips you've taken, kind of walk us through what's the origin story? How did you get into the game of points and miles?
Back in 2015, I was planning the summer vacation where we take the kids and travel to Tunisia and North Africa to meet my parents where they're retiring. And looking at the price of 4 economy tickets from Los Angeles to Tunisia, it was about $5,200 total. And that's just economy. And it felt like that's a very steep price to pay for 4 economy tickets with no frills, no nothing. So I started looking around for ways to actually cut that expense a little bit. And I came across a couple of websites that talk about credit cards that earn miles. And I thought that was interesting. So I started researching it, and then I told somebody, hey, listen, like if we play our cards right, pun intended, we might be able to get either free economy tickets or cut our economy, the money that we pay for economy flights. And the whole idea was just to save some money, not to fly business class or first class or access to lounge. It was just a modest and moderate goal, just cut the expenses a little bit. So like I said, we did some research, came across the points guy, like Brian, the points guy. And I believe he had an affiliate link with Chase and specifically the British Airways credit card. And I believe back then you would have earned 100,000 points if you spent like $4,000 in the first 3 months. And I was like, okay, like, I mean, we do spend quite a bit of money every month. So might as well just put all that money on a credit card and go with the British Airways 100,000 points, thinking that using those 100,000 British Airways points, and this is, remember, back in 2015, we can get at least one-way economy to Tunisia for free, which would cut our total expense by half. And I did that. I applied for that credit card, and then Sumaya also applied for that credit card. And at that time, British Airways ran an amazing promotion where if you use your British Airways Avios, you can actually get discounted business class flights. So we jumped on the opportunity, and I believe it was our first international flight in business class. We flew to Tunisia, and we only spent like $1,000, like or $1,500 out of pocket for 4 business class round trip LAX to Tunisia and back, and that's where the journey started.
That is a big first redemption.
Indeed, indeed. Sumaya, do you want to tell them about that night that I spent pacing back and forth right before our flight? You know, have an imaginary conversation with people in the lounge. Yeah.
So, like, we've had a couple, not very many, but we've had a couple Islamophobic like incidents. So sometimes we feel nervous. I don't know if that's the right word, but is that what you're talking about, Abdul?
I'm talking about us going into a lounge and feeling like we don't belong.
Like if we go into the lounge and then like, what if somebody feels like we're not supposed to be here and they're telling us like, you guys can't be here. So he was like having full on like what he's going to say to them. Like, no, we deserve to be here too. But yeah, that never happened once. So I don't know why he was nervous.
I don't know. I just felt like out of place. I mean, flying, first of all, going from economy to business, which is huge, and then actually having access to a lounge, you know, where for me, like the image that I associate with business travelers is rich folks. Back then, and even now, we're not that rich, you know. So to me, it felt like we felt a little bit of an imposter syndrome. Like we're walking into a lounge where most people are, or at least I think most people actually paid cash for their flights. And these flights in cash were like $3,000 a piece, so $12,000 for a whole family. So we ended up paying like $1,600 total, plus the points to walk into a business class lounge where these rich people are hanging out, you know, before their flight. To me, it felt like out of place, you know. And yeah, I lost that feeling over the course of the years, you know. But back then, I felt very nervous, and I coached myself, hey, what if somebody approaches us? We're like, hey, you don't belong here. You're flying, like, you must be flying on points. And you don't look like you could afford to fly business class. So, yeah, it was just young Abdul back in 2015. So now I know better.
That story is insane because everybody listening to this podcast right now has felt that imposter syndrome where you're in a nice lounge or in a nice hotel room in the lobby, you see people walking by in suits and you're like, I am not fancy enough to be here. I don't belong here. I have felt this feeling many times, which then I laugh about with the hotel receptionists and everything. Mm-hmm. And we have a laugh about how I don't belong here. But the fact that you guys like also rehearsed like you don't belong here because Islamophobia, I think is just a whole nother twist to this story that I don't think anybody ever even like considers. Like people have to have these conversations with themselves and rehearse these situations. That's crazy.
We went into the lounge and like it wasn't that fancy of a lounge, you know, now that we've visited so many lounges through the world, you know, like this is a lounge in LAX, the British Airways lounge in LAX. And then we got on the plane And one of the main attraction of business class, especially long haul business class, is having a flat seat bed. So your back is not hurting. If you're tired, you just lie down and nap. And I remember like 6 hours into the flight, tossing and turning, trying to fall asleep. And I couldn't. I couldn't because I still had butterflies in my stomach. I still felt that excitement of being, oh my God, I'm flying business class, you know?
Sumaya, are you the same way? Do you sleep easily on planes, or you're also just like, oh my God, we're in business class. I can't sleep.
When we flew, I flew first class from Abu Dhabi to LAX, which I guess they don't have that flight anymore, but it was on Etihad.
Oh, yeah.
Anyway, on that flight, you had like what was it, like a chef order cook or something?
Dine on demand. Dine on demand.
And yeah, so like you can just order whatever you want. But then it's like, I wanted to try, also Abdul, we wanted to try like everything on the menu. But then like, we feel bad just like ordering everything like back to back to back. So it's like, we couldn't sleep because every hour we had to order a new meal. So we tried, I think, everything on the menu. So yeah, it just depends. Some flights, like especially because we also, the way we plan our travel, we're both like, we get really restless really fast. So we don't like to spend more than we have a 3-day hotel room total. Like we can't spend more than 3 days in a single hotel. Then we have to go somewhere else. Even if we're in the same city, we have to go to a different hotel because we call it breakfast fatigue. For the first day we go down. I know this is like major first world problems, but the first day we go down to like the big breakfast buffet and we're like, oh my God, we have this, we have that. And we're trying everything. And then the second day we eat it again and we're like, we'll maybe get like back for the things that we loved. And then the third day we're just like, I'm bored. So then we go to the next hotel. So anyway, what I was going to say about that, I like went off subject, but so because we only spend like 3 days total, sometimes we're only like in a country for 3 days. And so we have to like maximize and see as much as we can in those 3 days. I mean, I'm a Virgo. I don't know if that's why, but like I write out itineraries that's like hour by hour. We're doing this and then we're doing that. And so if it's one of those places where it's like we need to get there already rested because it's going to be morning there and we need to sightsee that day, then I just force everybody in the family to sleep. Even Abdul, I'm like, I don't care. Figure it out. Take a sleeping pill. You need to sleep.
How many of these trips do you guys get to take per year?
We do like 2 major trips, one in December, one in usually July, because those are when the kids are out of school. But then we try to hit at least 4 countries for each trip. So right now we're averaging about 8 countries a year, I would say. Mm-hmm. And on top of that, we try to do like 3 to 5 domestic, like shorter trips throughout the year.
We went to Florida, and then we went to Jamaica, and then Dominican Republic. And then we wanted to go to Puerto Rico, but they shut down everything like gyms, restaurants, pools, and things like that. And it wouldn't make much sense for us to go to Puerto Rico and just sit in a hotel when even the pool and gym is closed. So we end up like spending a lot of time in Disney World and like Florida. And then we flew back to Los Angeles. That was our summer. So that alone, 2 international destination and 1 domestic. And then in December, we end up going to Texas, Panama, Colombia. Colombia, we flew to Ecuador to Costa Rica to Cancun back to Los Angeles. Each destination was like 2-3 days tops. And you don't believe how much stuff you can accomplish in 2-3 days. Like, I mean,
if you're us,
like basically you just hit the ground running. Take as many pictures as you can, hit a couple of major attractions, buy the pen or like the magnet, like the fridge magnet in the airport, and then just come home.
Oh, let me say something. I was just going to say also, on that COVID trip in 2020 that you were talking about, I was just going to say also that we had Puerto Rico already booked. And then while we were in Dominican Republic, that's when they shut down Puerto Rico. And so we used the Chase, the travel, what is it called? The travel.
It's the travel insurance. Insurance.
That comes with the Chase. Yeah, we used that and it was really easy. We just called them up. We told them that we have trips to Puerto Rico and it got now shut down from COVID. what can they do? And they immediately like refunded everything we bought for the planes, the hotels, everything. And then they booked us the flight themselves for us to get back to the US. They asked us like, what airport do you want to fly into? That's when we decided to go to Disney World. We weren't planning to go, but the kids were like, okay, let's go to Disney World then. We're like,
Hey, the
okay.
kids said, let's go
Yeah,
to Disney
I wanted
World.
to go too. It's a really good perk to have. Like, just know that we used it. It was super easy. They helped us out. And next thing you know, we were back in Florida.
That is a good thing to know. Those trip protections and like the travel insurance, they can really come in handy, especially in times like the pandemic when your plans are always just kind of up in the air. Hey there, points people. Are you interested in learning some next level tips about cards, airlines, hotels, stacking, where to find award availability, and more? Check out the Patreon at patreon.com/geobreezetravel. There, you'll find recordings of all of my monthly masterclass hangouts, as well as some special bonus content. And now, we are also doing some gift card giveaways each month to some lucky Patreon members. Check out the show notes for the link to join. This week's Patreon shoutout goes out to Juan. Thank you so much for being a part of the Geobreeze Travel Patreon community.
Yeah.
What do you guys do for your day jobs that you have like this much vacation time that you can take 4 trips per year?
All right. So I'm a university professor. So that gives me a lot of time because basically I don't teach in the summers and I don't teach in the winter session. So I have off like December, January, and then I have June, July, August. And then you just have a lot of vacation.
I'm a principal engineer with Sony, working on the PlayStation 5 and the PlayStation brand. And I've been with Sony for about 15 years. So every year I accumulate a little bit of extra personal time off. And I started hitting the limit. There's a certain cap after which use it or lose it. So I have to use my time off. And, yeah, we're blessed to have this much time off to the point where sometimes we're trying to take vacations just so we can burn it, like just burn it off. It's a very, very good problem to have.
That is a nice problem to have. That is another one of those first world problems, like breakfast buffet, food fatigue.
The 2 Shangri-Las that we've been to, the Bangkok and the Muscat, oh man, had like such amazing breakfast. To this day, I just find myself daydreaming about it. Like, did I eat enough? Did I get my points worth?
Which points family is the Shangri-La with? How do you get a Shangri-La on points?
Here's the thing. It's with the Chase Sapphire Reserve. Both the Chase Sapphire Reserve and Preferred, you earn ultimate reward points. Now, here's the thing. You can, for every point that you earn with the Sapphire Preferred, you can redeem it for 1.25 cent. And for the Reserve, for every point, you can redeem it for 1.5 cent on travel through the Chase portal. So let's say a room is $300. Like with the Chase Sapphire Reserve, you pay much less than that, like $200 instead of $300 because your point go for 1.5 cent. So we find hotels on the Chase travel portal, and then we have multiple strategies. For hotels specifically, we redeem the ultimate reward points on the Chase Sapphire, the Chase portal, travel portal. For flights, that's a different thing. That's where we transfer our points to airlines and then redeem flights. To give you an example, I mentioned Santorini. We're going to Santorini next week. What we did is we transferred 212,000 points from Chase to Flying Blue, which is Air France and KLM. And we basically did the research first to see how many points it takes for 4 people to fly business class. And it was 212,000 points for when we booked it. It was on promotion and it was great. So we transferred the points from Chase to Flying Blue, and then we paid the taxes and fees in cash, and we scored for business class flights. So,
Very cool. How do you stay organized?
Oh,
it's actually interesting because a lot of people do keep an Excel sheet. This is when I opened up the card. This is how much I earned, and this is the annual fee. And this is when the annual fee hits. Me, I keep track of it mentally, and I also use. I mean, I'm mostly a Chase guy, so I have like 6 or 7 credit cards with Chase, and I check my points and my activity pretty much religiously, like every day, and that's how. Like specifically, I try and keep track of and when the annual fee hits. So because, for instance, when Sumaya's Chase Sapphire Preferred hit the annual fee of $95 like a couple months ago, I knew that I had basically just about 30 days for us to call and downgrade it to a non-annual fee card so they can reimburse us that $95 because we didn't have much use after we earned the bonus and all that stuff. And that's what we did. And they reimbursed us the $95. And now that card sits in a drawer.
That's awesome. I have one of those like baseball trading card notebooks where you would put baseball cards, except mine's all credit cards.
Credit cards, yeah. Yeah.
Cool. So, with all of the different fun trips you've gotten to take, is there a favorite that you guys have had in your history of points and miles?
My favorite is definitely for our 10-year anniversary. Abdul, maybe I also was kind of a treat because he basically like organized the entire thing and did the whole thing, and I didn't really do anything, so I can't take credit. But we did a trip around the world. Started in Los Angeles. We went to Abu Dhabi, right? Went to Japan.
Oh my God, this is our 10-year anniversary, which was 5 years ago, and she doesn't remember it. I remember every single detail.
Okay, we went to Singapore, and we went to. I know we went to Dubai, but I don't remember where else we went.
Oh God, like, okay, Abdul, fine, because I did the research. Thank you for appreciating it, Sumaya. I guess I'm just a tool to earn these great points and trips.
Especially as on the Singapore Airways flight, that was the first flight we took, right? LAX to Singapore, nonstop. And we flew in business. We flew in what? What did
all right, here's how it goes. Okay, first of all, we had Uber Black to take us from our home in the valley to Los Angeles Airport, LAX. So it had to be mentioned Uber Black because we earned 3 points per dollar spent. And then we went to Singapore. We flew Singapore Airlines, Los Angeles to Korea, because at that point they did not have the nonstop, or like they discontinued it. And then from Korea to Singapore, we spent, was it 5 days or 3 days in Singapore? 3 days in Singapore. 3 days in Singapore.
Wait, you skipped a step because I was trying to say on that flight,
Mm-hmm.
emailed the company beforehand and told them, like, we're celebrating our 10-year anniversary. Can you surprise my wife in the air? And so what they did was absolutely amazing. Like, I've never seen anything like this in my life. But basically, at one point, they rolled out a cart and it was like completely decorated with flowers and everything. And it was a cake on it that said like happy anniversary Abdul and Sumaya. And then they had 2 little bears, like the Singapore Airways bears, a guy and a girl that they gifted us. And then they took a picture of all the flight crew and the captain, and had the captain sign it saying like happy anniversary. And then they did this big announcement for it and wheeled it out. And it was just, I was just blown away by that because I didn't expect it. And it was so sweet.
Mm-hmm.
And then we enjoyed Singapore. We loved Singapore. Then we went to, I don't know.
Dubai.
Okay, then I told you we went to Dubai. Okay, then we went to Dubai. Oh, and then we stayed at the Grand Hyatt Dubai. And same thing, Abdul emailed the manager of the hotel ahead of time. So this is like, take notes, guys. Like, if you email managers of hotels where you're going to stay ahead of time and tell them you're celebrating a birthday or whatever you're celebrating, sometimes if you're lucky, they'll really go out of their way for you. And we just lucked out in Grand Hyatt Dubai where he told them ahead of time. So when we got there, they decided to upgrade us to the Prince Suite. And oh my God, it was like the entire top floor of the Grand Hyatt. Like, it's bigger than our house. I'm not kidding. And it was just absolutely unbelievable. I've never in my life stayed in a room like that, multiple rooms. Like they would come through every morning with fresh bouquet of flowers, like to refill the vases in every single room of the suite. It was just unbelievable. And then they had a separate breakfast lounge on the top floor just for the people that had suites. So it was like a private breakfast. So we went to, and there was
The club. Yeah.
Yeah, and there was a famous football player there in the lounge with us eating breakfast, and I don't remember his name, so I'm not gonna pretend. But still, there was a celebrity. And then after Dubai, we went to Abu Dhabi, and we stayed in the Grand Hyatt Saadiyat.
Hyatt Park.
Hyatt Park.
Different thing, different hotels. Grand Hyatt Dubai, and then the Park Hyatt Saadiyat Abu Dhabi.
Which is also an amazingly gorgeous hotel. It's one of the best hotels I think I've ever been in. And then after that, did we fly home?
Yeah.
I guess after that we flew home. And then that's when we flew Etihad back. And we also flew in business, and it was nonstop. And on that flight was the lead singer from Aerosmith.
Was it Aerosmith?
Steven Tyler was on your flight?
No, I think it's someone else. Because if it was somebody from Aerosmith, I'd be like all over them, and then like
no,
would restrict me.
It's the famous guy. Okay, let me just preface.
There was a celebrity.
Celebrities at all. Like I'm literally the person that you can ask me who that person is. I have no idea. No idea. Actually, the only reason we knew he was a celebrity is because people were going up to him in the lounge and asking to take pictures with him. And so I asked another lady, and I'm like, who is that? And that's when she told me. I was like, oh my God. And I Googled him, and I was like, oh my God, that's him.
So how many points did all of this cost? How did you book this trip on points?
Here's the thing. Every year, there's a sad thing that happens where airlines devaluate their charts, and back then in 2016, I remember paying for Los Angeles to Dubai with a stopover in Singapore. They used to do it back then. I don't know if they still do it now. I think it was 80,000 points per person, so a little bit 160,000 plus $100 per person to cover the stopover in Singapore. So the final destination was Dubai, but with a 3 days stopover in Singapore. That was using Chris miles on like Singapore Airlines, and then to fly from Abu Dhabi to Los Angeles. And unfortunately, that flight no longer operates. Like Etihad Airways just announced that they no longer serve Los Angeles. But that flight was about 50,000 American airline. 75,000 American airline points per person to fly business class. So it was 150,000 for American airline points, and then 160,000 Chris miles, like with the Singapore Airlines, and like a few $100 here and there. The Grand Hyatt Dubai, I think it was about 30,000 points that we transferred from Chase to Hyatt. And then same thing with Park Hyatt in Abu Dhabi. That was, again, points transferred from Chase to Hyatt, which is a transfer partner of Chase Ultimate Reward Points. So,
how much would all of this have cost if you had to pay for it in money?
Like honestly, like at least 30, 40 grand. At least 30, 40 grand. Why? Because when you fly one way, business class or first class, it's usually more expensive, at least in my experience, than paying round trip. And we're not interested in doing round trip. We're interested in traveling around the world, as in like we were flying west all the time. So yeah, it would have, I thought it was like $40,000, like something like that. So, I was looking at the rates. I remember the Park Hyatt Abu Dhabi was over $1,000 a night with very limited availability, but we lucked out and we got it. Yeah.
How much would that Prince suite have cost if you paid for that?
Was that $1,500? Like $1,500, something like that. Like, like shout out to the people of the Grand Hyatt Dubai. Like they took care of us. First of all, check-in. We walked into the regular reception and they're like, no, we're gonna take you up in an elevator to the club floor for a separate check-in. And then they gave us the suite, and we have tons of pictures of footage of it. And they brought us, because we don't drink alcohol, they brought us a really fancy, was it pomegranate, sparkling pomegranate juice
And
and a cake
yeah.
and flowers and everything. And I'm like, stop. Like, I don't deserve all this stuff. I don't, like, just give me a little bit of bread and cheese and that's it. Like, I don't ask for much, But that suite was amazing. I still remember every single corner of it. Like, it's amazing. Yeah.
So many of the most luxurious experiences that I've heard about on this podcast or other Points and Miles blogs take place in Dubai. Like, I think I've had 5 people on this podcast be like, oh, my best trip ever was to Dubai, like the Al Maha or like something in Dubai. And a lot of the most luxurious experiences that people talk about in Points and Miles are flights to and from the Middle East, whether it's on Qatar Airways, Etihad, Emirates, any of those. But yet, like, you guys are the first Muslim people I've had on the podcast. Why is the whole Points and Miles thing not just more common with the Muslim community?
So, okay, so here's the thing. So religiously in Islam, we can't pay interest. Basically, there's a lot of Muslims that are scared of credit cards in general, just because they feel like they're doing something religiously sinful. But the thing is like, as long as you pay off your credit card in full at the end of every month, you're not paying any interest. So that's what we do. We have tons of credit cards, but we don't accrue any interest on them, because whatever we spend on them every month, we just pay the full balance at the end of the month, and then we're good to go. And so I think, because we do get a lot of questions like that through our social media, asking us like, how can you guys do this? And this is a sin and stuff like that. And then I have to explain to them that it's not a sin because you're paying it off completely. So I really think that's a huge factor in why. But like, we try our hardest. Like, we try to rope in our friends so hard. Abdul has a friend that he's been telling him for like 10 years, and he still is like a cash guy. And that guy, oh, hi, sorry, I'm on the sorry. That guy has 2 businesses. So we're like, if you put your business expenses on these cards, like, do you have, and he likes to travel, but yet we don't, I don't know.
People are skeptical when you tell them about all your trips and things like that. And you tell them, hey, sign up for this credit card and things like that. People are skeptical. They think you're trying to scam them or get something out of them. You know what? Fine, I'll fly business class. You keep flying economy to keep you.
Yeah, they think like, I mean, it really is so easy. And like, honestly, like we don't get anything out of this blog and what we do. Honestly, we don't. And like, the only reason we do it is because we wish we knew these things a long time ago. And we, once we found it out, like, honestly, like, we spent a good 2-3 years kicking ourselves. Like, if we knew this, because we love to travel. I mean, since the second we got married, we were already planning trips and traveling. And so it's like, if we knew this, 10 years ago, 15 years ago, things would have been so different. And we're just trying to help people like, look, you can have this too. You can do this too. But then when we start to tell them, they think like, I don't know what they think, like it's too good to be true or something. It's not too good to be true. You can do it.
But the fewer people do it, the better, To answer your question, just to give a little more perspective on the whole Muslim traveling luxurious thing. So we flew Dubai to Los Angeles nonstop business class. It was just Sumaya and I. But 2 years later, we took our kids with us and we flew Dubai to Los Angeles. And I had Sumaya and my daughter Sarah in first class. I redeemed 230,000 American airline points to put Sumaya, my wife, and Sarah, my daughter, in first class, because ladies first. Yes, I know. And Adam, my son, and I, we flew in business class. And the first class in that Etihad flight had 8 first class seats. So 2 of them were occupied by Sumaya and my daughter, and the rest were Muslim folks who paid probably cash. I mean, they were elderly and things like that. And we do have friends in Dubai and Abu Dhabi who pay cash for their flights, whether it's business or first class. You wouldn't imagine how much wealth there is in that area. Like, I mean, I walked into the Burj Al Arab, which is the only 7-star hotel in Dubai, to just look at the brunch menu because Sumaya was trying to convince me that it's $125 a person, 2 people, $250. Let's just do it. It's once in a lifetime. Do it, and that's it. So when they took us up there and gave us a tour of the caviar, the Wagyu, and all of that stuff, I was convinced. I mean, let's pay $250 for just 2 people. This was on our 10-year anniversary. And then I was like, okay, so how much is it? Just to confirm the price. And it was like $300 a person, $600 for a dinner. I was like, oh yeah, let me think about it. I'll come back. They're still waiting. 5 years later, they're still waiting for Abdul, who went for a walk, and he's going to come right back up, But the reason I'm bringing this up is because I've seen tables with 16 family members around enjoying this brunch. 16 people at $300 minimum price a person. It's like, where do you get all this money? Like, I want some of it, just throw it my way, So, yeah, the wealth in that region, we live in LA, like we live in a Porter Ranch, which is a pretty wealthy area, but we know Beverly Hills, we know like Encino, we know where rich people live, with the mansions and things like that. So we're used to wealth, but there's a whole nother level. Like, the stuff that we saw there, I'm like, how do I get into that, private elite club?
I think you have to dig in your backyard and then have an oil refinery just rise up.
All right, I'll start digging today.
I think you just need an oil refinery in your backyard, and then suddenly you can pay for all of these flights in cash. Oh my God. I can't fathom paying for these business and first class flights.
The friends that we have in Abu Dhabi who fly first class, they have a caviar farm in Abu Dhabi. So yeah, I'm like, hey, how about you hook me up with a little caviar?
They have a caviar farm?
Yeah, in Abu Dhabi. Like, they farm caviar. Like, they grow sturgeon and they collect the caviar and then they sell it. Mm-hmm.
I was just imagining like a beluga whale just hanging out in the desert, and then they're like harvesting eggs out of it, and I'm like, it dies. Like, you can't have a whale in a desert.
It's crazy how Abu Dhabi and Dubai are trying to diversify their portfolios away from gas and natural resources because they're drying up, and the world is moving towards electric, solar, wind, and all that stuff. So some of the investment that they did was actually building these caviar farms, and they have like these huge water tanks, and they just grow the beluga, the sturgeons, and different types of sturgeons into the size where they can actually harvest the caviar from. Yeah, so
you could do that as a side gig project in your backyard. You're like, I dig for oil and I farm caviar. It's a hobby, like points and miles. I farm caviar. I travel for free. Rich people hobbies. I belong in this business class lounge thing.
Thank you. This is it. Hold on, let me write that one down. That's a good line.
It's like, I farm caviar.
Yeah.
This has been such an entertaining episode, and it's so enlightening too. I never even thought about the religious aspect of interest. I had heard that once upon a time, but it didn't even occur to me that that's why a lot of the Muslim community doesn't go for credit cards. But rule number 1 of travel hacking: if you're going to open these cards, make sure you pay it off all in full every month anyway. And now no sins have been committed.
Yeah.
That's right.
What would you say is your number 1 piece of travel hacking advice for listeners today that I can put on an Instagram quote card?
Family and significant others applying for the same cards and combining the points. So Sumaya and I, we always apply for the same card. A lot of these banks allow you to pool the points together. So my 100,000 points from the Chase Ultimate, from the Preferred, can be combined with Sumaya by making Sumaya an authorized user on my Chase, and then we combine the two together, and then we decide to either transfer them to airlines or hotel lines, or just redeeming them for Oh no, the Chase travel portal. So pool your points together.
And even use each other's referral link, because we'll use others' links and then get an extra little bonus.
Excellent. Two-player mode is the way to go. Mm-hmm. And also with good advice, can you give a shout out to one or two people on the internet that listeners should go follow for awesome points advice as well?
All right. Well, there's the number one guy, the points guy, Brian, and then Ben Schluppik from 1 Mile at a Time. Those two people I follow a lot. And one third person, like from, forgot his name, but his God Save the Points. He's now on boardandarea.com. But those three blogs, the points guy, 1 Mile at a Time, and God Save the Points.
And thank you again, both of you, for coming onto the show. This was so much fun and so entertaining and so educational for everybody. So thank you.
Yeah, thank you for having us. It was super fun.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for listening to today's episode of the Geobreeze Travel Podcast. If any of the cards mentioned in today's episode piqued your interest, please check out the links in the show notes for more information on any of the cards. Also, if you apply for a card using the links on that page, I may receive a commission too, so please and thank you. P.S. I hear the links work better in Internet Explorer or Safari, and sometimes the credit card applications tend to glitch out in Chrome. Additionally, it would mean the world to me if you could subscribe to this podcast, leave a 5-star review, and share it with a friend. And if you would like to make even more travel hacking friends, please sign up for the Patreon to access our monthly masterclass hangouts. We dive deep into a particular points program each month, and you'll get to ask all of your travel hacking questions and enjoy being around other people who enjoy points and miles just as much as you and I do. If you would like an invite to the next one, head over to geobreezetravel.com/hangouts to sign up to be on the invite list. Take care and happy travels!